I'm Jack Ho, co-owner of a hole-in-the-wall sushi joint run by my wife, daddy to this little princess, and the Chinese half of the singing duo, Jack and Ray. You may have been to our gigs. Yeah, I'm that guy. Now this guy, this is my granddad, Ho Kun Tun. And this lady is his elder sister, Ho Kim Nyo. To my knowledge, we are a Chinese family. But many people have commented that granddad and grandaunt look Eurasian. So does this mean we actually have Caucasian ancestry? That's the big family mystery I want to unravel. To find out if my Chinese family has Caucasian blood, it would make sense to sniff around at the Eurasian Association, a space that celebrates the mixed-race descendants of Europeans and Asians.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon. You have such a lovely wall of portraits here.
Oh, thank you.
Can I ask you one question? Could you tell me more about the ancestry of these two?
I would say they are Eurasian.
What makes you say that they are Eurasian?
Based on these two pictures, I would say that they have very European features.
This is actually my grandpa, and this is his sister, so she's my grandaunt. They grew up thinking that they were Chinese. So if you and I both think that they look Eurasian, does that mean they are actually Eurasian?
Genetics can be very tricky. We inherit 50% of our DNA from each of our parents. This is random. That is why Eurasian families have a very wide spectrum of features, from the very European to the very Asian. And also, due to human migration and historical events over the centuries, no one person can say that they are 100% of one race.
All my life, I believe I was 100% Chinese because I grew up in a culturally Chinese family, despite how granddad and grandaunt looked. In fact, we have other Eurasian-looking faces in the extended family. I want to find out once and for all if we really do have Caucasian ancestry. And if we do, why wasn't it acknowledged?
I spent a large part of my childhood with my cousins and extended family here at my late grandparents' house.
This house was like the childcare center of the family. All of our parents would deposit us here. I was very close to Popo and Kong Kong when I was little. Kong Kong passed away in 2009, I believe, and he was 91 years old. Popo passed away in the year 2021, and she was 100 years old, so she was the last of a generation to go. And I remembered so many people coming to pay their respects, even distant cousins whom I've never met before. Everyone was telling me stories about the old days. And one thing that keeps popping up in the family conversation is like, you know, when Kong Kong was younger, he really looked very Ang Mo.
Hey, Frankie! Hi!
My cousin Frankie, who's 9 years my senior, is the go-to guy for anything related to our family ancestry.
Look at all the pictures of Popo and Kong Kong.
As the self-appointed family historian, Frankie dedicates his time to gathering information for our ever-growing family tree.
Look at that! How long ago was this?
2008.
That's amazing!
That's the old one. Let me show you the new one that I have online.
Check it out!
This is great-grandfather Ho Ta Chun.
Okay,
And then grandfather Kong Kong.
that's Kong Kong.
And my father. And that's me.
Ah, that's right.
And your dad,
My old man.
Simon Ho.
That's right.
And that's you.
You know, they always say Kong Kong look a little bit Eurasian. So my question is, do you think we have Caucasian ancestry?
Great-grandfather Ho Ta Chun married Leong Afa, and she came from Indonesia. Indonesia was a Dutch colony and they say she has Dutch blood.
If she was really half Dutch, why did Leong Afa not pass down the Dutch culture within our family? Why is our family so culturally Chinese?
Well, it is because of this guy, Ho Tak Chun, our great-grandfather. Look at this. This is the book that has all our generation names that Ho Tak Chun adhered to.
Wow! And I recognize this. This is in my Chinese name. He Su Jie, the Su.
Yeah, and did you know that Ho Tak Chun personally selected my name because I am the firstborn son of Gong Gong's firstborn son?
Wow, Frank, that's very patriarchal.
When Ho Tak Chun married Leong Afa was half his age. And I can imagine that Ho Tak Chun had total control over her, and that is why she had to adopt the Chinese culture completely.
Frank, that's all really interesting. But how sure are we that Leong Afa was really half Dutch? I mean, you check out her name, right? Leong Afa. It sounds pretty Chinese to me.
Well, here's my take. Ho Tak Chun came from China, and Leong Afa came from Indonesia, a Dutch colony. And if there is going to be any Caucasian lineage, it has to come from her. Otherwise, how would they produce Eurasian-looking children like Gong Gong and grandaunt Ho Kim Nio?
Grandaunt Ho Kim Nio. Not only did she look Eurasian, many of her descendants do too.
Look at my son when he was young.
Wow!
He looks like a Caucasian boy.
Yeah, he's got blonde hair.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Oh, wow. Marianne, and
Yes,
this
Jack.
is a picture of your papa.
That's my dad. He looks so much like grandmother.
Marianne's grandmother is my grandaunt Ho Kim Nio. Aunt Mina is Ho Kim Nio's youngest child and the little sister of Marianne's dad.
I remember when I was about 5 or 6, I would go to the shop with my mother. And then the shopkeepers will refer her as Jiao Di.
What is Jiaodi?
Probably it means Ang Mo in some dialect.
Aunt Mina, what do you remember about Leong Afa?
I remember my grandmother, Leong Afa, having a fair pinkish complexion. But her facial features were Asian, unlike my mother, who had a high nose bridge.
Aunt Mina, I saw 2 pictures of Leong Afa, so I understand where you come from. The Asian features.
What I know about Leong Afa was through my mother. When my mom and my dad got married, they used to live with grandma for a period of time. And my mom found out from grandma that Leong Afa's mother was actually pure Caucasian.
No. Wait a minute. So that means our Caucasian ancestor was our great-great-grandma.
Apparently so.
I always thought our Dutch ancestry came from much further up the line.
Wait. What I heard was she was German.
What? Wait. So we all know that Leong Afa came from Indonesia, which was a Dutch colony, right? So how can her mother be German?
Yeah, this is my first time hearing German too. When people say that my mother looked Caucasian, she would say that her mom had Holland blood.
See? No. What I heard from my mom, who heard it directly from grandma, was that she had Tekok blood.
Wait, what's
What?
Tekok?
Tekok is German.
Oh, wait.
I thought was Dutch.
Always?
I've always grown up hearing that we had Tekok blood.
No way.
Yes.
Could Leong Afa's mother have been German? That is one bomb that Marianne dropped on me. So I'm led to think that it is predominantly Dutch and nothing else. But now there's this German element that's thrown into the whole equation. For me, it's like, wow, where do we go from here, right? Like,
I'm on a quest to find out if my culturally Chinese family has Caucasian ancestry. And I was just told that my great-grandmother, Leong Afa's mother, could very well be our full-blooded European ancestor. But here's the plot twist. While we assumed she would be Dutch because we know that her daughter Leong Afa was born in Indonesia when it was a Dutch colony, my second cousin Marianne has it on good authority that she was in fact German. My dad is on his way over to hang out. I'm going to ask my old man what he thinks about all of this.
Hey, Dad! Yo, how are you, man? Okay lah.
The thing is, he has never liked getting involved in these family lineage discussions.
Hey, Dad, I have to ask you this. Everyone always talks about Kong Kong, looking a little bit Eurasian. Have you ever asked him why?
I never did ask
Never
her this.
asked?
No, never asked him this question. You know, in those days, there is some stigma that associated with people with Caucasian look, especially when you have Chinese name. You know, so it doesn't go down well with the kampong folks.
Understand. Like, don't know what your family history is like.
yes.
Maybe you guys are like impure or illegitimate, all these kind of things.
Yes, correct.
Okay.
Auntie Amy, when she was young, she looks like very Angmo, very mixed.
Auntie Amy?
Yeah, Auntie Amy, she got brown hair, curly locks, and she is being teased around the kampong with not so nice name like calling her Amokia.
Really?
Kong Kong not very happy with all this name calling, so that's why we just don't want to ask it. In fact, at the time we don't even bother to ask also. But overall, we live as a traditional Chinese family. You know our granddad Ho Tak Chun, very strict Hainanese, and when you see him, you have to speak in Hainanese.
So Ho Tak Chun, very patriarchal the way he runs the family. But Dad, I found out his wife, Leong Afa's mother, could possibly be German.
How can that be? Leong Afa came from the Indonesian island. How can her mother be German? Who told you that?
Marianne. Her mother heard directly from Ho Kim Nio that Leong Afa's mother had Tek Kok blood.
Teko?
Tek Kok.
Cannot be. Because one day I was talking to Kong Kong. His mother, Leong Afa, just passed by and he looked at me and pointed at her and told me that her mother is a Dutch.
What we have here is a classic case of he said, she said. Granddad Ho Kun Tun told Dad that Leong Afa's mother was a Dutch lady. Marianne's mother heard it from her mother-in-law Ho Kim Nio that Leong Afa's mother had Tek Kok or German blood.
So, according to my quick online research, there were in fact Germans in the Dutch East Indies during the 1700s and 1800s. And check it out, they were mainly soldiers recruited into the Dutch military. Meaning these were men, right? Obviously single men serving in the military. What would a German woman be doing amongst these men, right? So is it really possible, given these circumstances, that my great-great-grandma was German?
A DNA test seems in order. What will science say we are? Dutch or German? I got Aunt Mina to take a DNA test too, since she is one generation above me and also a matrilineal descendant of our Caucasian ancestor, whom we are almost certain now is Leong Afa's mother. While we wait for the DNA test results, a lot more questions have surfaced beyond Leong Afa's mother's country of origin. How did a single white female, Dutch or German, find her way to Bangka Island of Sumatra at that time? And how did this European woman end up marrying a Chinese man there? I'm meeting Professor Seng Guo Qian, author of a book about the Chinese in colonial Indonesia. He may be able to shed some light on how my great-grandmother Leong Afa's parents met and got married.
Prof Seng. Hey, nice to meet you, sir. Prof Seng, so I was told my great-grandmother Leong Afa came from Bangka Island of Sumatra. Given a place of birth and that Indonesia was part of the Dutch colony back then, how possible would it be that her mother was German?
There was a big Chinese population in the tin industry on Bangka, especially the Hakkas. Unfortunately, it's very unlikely that there was a German presence on the island.
So she must have been Dutch, right?
Sorry to break it to you, but it's highly unlikely that there was a pure white woman on Bangka at the time.
What?
Just when I thought we had found our Caucasian ancestor in my great-great-grandmother, and the final piece of the puzzle was just to figure out if she were Dutch or German, history did not concur. According to historian Professor Seng, there is almost no likelihood that a pure Caucasian woman would be found on Bangka Island of Sumatra in the late 1800s.
Now, before 1900s, any white woman who found their way to Asia would have been accompanying their husbands, either in the big businesses or as colonial civil servants. And they would have gone to Java or Sumatra in the big cities, not likely to be Bangka. On the off chance that there was a single white woman on Bangka, it's impossible that she would have married a Chinese man.
So back then, mixed marriages were not very common?
They were illegal.
Legal?
Now, don't get me wrong. There were, in fact, many relationships between European men and Asian women. They were just not allowed to be, marital relationships. Then, in 1898, the Dutch colonial government passed the Mixed Marriages Act, and then it became legal. This sounds very liberal, right? In fact, there was an underlying message targeted at white women. Look, we know the Chinese and native Indonesians were polygamous. If you married them, you have to convert to their religion, so it's at your own risk.
So even if my great-great-grandparents got married at all, it would have been against all odds.
Definitely. Even on the Chinese side of things, intermarriage was frowned upon. The Chinese saw that a proper marriage was essentially an alliance between two Chinese families, and only the super wealthy and powerful elites could afford to send their children to the Netherlands to get a proper Dutch education. It's only that small strata of elite might have come back with a white wife from the Netherlands.
Okay, well, I doubt my great-great-grandfather belonged in that category because my great-grandmother Leong Afa did not speak Dutch, and she was sent to Singapore, I think at the age of 16 or 17, to get married to a man twice her age to be his third wife.
I would surmise that your great-great-grandfather was most likely a newcomer to Bangka, a Chinese coolie in the tin mining industry. His parents in the Chinese village would have expected him to return after having made some money to marry a Chinese wife. And given that he was not of the super wealthy elite status, it's not likely that he would have paired up with a white woman. So I would say this woman we're talking about, your great-great-grandmother, was most likely a local Eurasian woman, the offspring of a European soldier and his native concubine, very likely to be poor and uneducated.
Oh man, I'm a little bit bummed to learn that my great-great-grandmother probably wasn't Caucasian. A Chinese man marrying a Caucasian lady back in those days, was quite forbidden. But you never know, right? I might have had a really radical ancestor.
The DNA test results are finally out. Will science confirm what history has speculated?
Are we ready? Yes. All right, let's do it. Chinese and Vietnamese, 99.1%.
So means no,
No
Dutch, no German,
no Caucasian.
no Caucasian. Ah. But oh well, I can now tell everyone that I'm 0.9% Japanese and Korean. Sake anybody? No? We still have your turn, Auntie Mina.
Okay,
Just click it. Let's go.
let's go. Wow. I got
7.7% Filipino,
You know, Indonesian and Malay. I got 2.2%.
Look at that.
Wow, I can't believe it.
Finland finished.
Oh.
So 2.2%.
That's the Caucasian part.
I thought I will have Dutch blood or even the German blood.
But wow, Finland finish.
Where did it come from? That's the thing.
Yeah. Actually, you know what? I found out in my research during the Dutch colonial era, they hired many people from all over Europe into the military. So, you know, we think that it's a Dutch colony and it's all, Dutch, but actually the soldiers that served might have been from anywhere in Europe, Germany, and in our case, as what we see today, maybe Finland as well. So that is my guess how we see this 2.2% Finnish heritage.
Okay, good. This is information for my family tree.
Maybe we can take a flight to Finland to see the Northern Lights, maybe? To be honest, I'm a little bummed that the Caucasian ancestry didn't show up in my DNA breakdown, but the fact that Aunt Minus showed 2.2% Caucasian ancestry seals the deal. And that's what started me off on this whole journey in the first place, right? To find out where my roots were. And from the percentages of the DNA results, I can roughly place our Caucasian ancestor maybe 5 generations above me. Here's another interesting thing I've learned on this journey. 1 or 2 branches of my family tree possibly had children born out of wedlock. This is because mixed marriages were forbidden back then, even illegal. But I like to think of it as something romantic. You know, despite the circumstances that surrounded my ancestors, they still went against all odds, fell in love, had children, and that's how I came into existence, right? So, you know what? Thank you, ancestors, for walking on the wild side.